everyone, welcome back for another day of math class. Excited to see you all again, or hopefully I'll see you on Zoom. Hopefully you're excited to see me also. I miss seeing you in class. We are going to spend another day on independent and dependent events because I know that this is something new, so I think a little extra practice will be good. So day 2, it is April 7th already. Crazy that we're well into week 2 of distance learning. So day 2 of independent and dependent events. So just a real quick review. Remember, an independent event means that the two events don't have any effect on each other, and dependent means that one does affect the other. So if we're looking at these scenarios and we just want to identify them as independent or dependent, the first one, Seth and Katie get on a roller coaster together and pick seats. Katie picks a seat after Seth does. Because Seth picks his seat first and then that seat is no longer available, that means that these are dependent events because the number of seats to choose from changes after Katie picks hers. Okay, number 2, you choose a member of the baseball team to be the pitcher. Then you choose a different member of the team to be the catcher. After you pick someone to be the pitcher of the team, that person can no longer be picked to be the catcher. So again, one affects the other, so they are dependent events. Number 3, a student chooses a book at random from a list of books and then chooses a second book from those remaining. The key word right there is the ones that are kind of left over. Since you pick your first book and then you're choosing from what's left, again, this is dependent. And the last one, you select a flower from one bunch and then choose another flower from a different bunch. Now, because you're picking the second flower from a completely different bunch, these are independent events because one will not affect the other. Okay, so now let's actually work on finding the probability of some of these events. So if we're going to spin this spinner and then flip a coin, the probability of the events. So first of all, spinning a 4 and then flipping heads. Now, when you spin the spinner and then you flip a coin, they are independent events. One does not affect the other. So remember, we're going to find the probability of the first event, the probability of 4, times the probability of the second event, which is heads. So the probability of spinning a 4 is 1/10. The probability of flipping heads on a coin is 1 out of 2. So the probability of those two things happening is 1/20th. And you would leave your answer as that fraction. Okay. Spinning an even number, the probability of even times the probability of tails. An even number, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 are all even numbers. So it's 5 out of 10 times tails is 1/2. Now make sure you simplify. 5 out of 10 simplifies to 1/2. So we end up with 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/4. Okay. Then spinning a multiple of 3. So the probability of a multiple of 3 times the probability of flipping heads. Now, if we look at this spinner, multiples of 3 are 3, 6, and 9. So the probability of spinning a multiple of 3 is 3 out of 10 times the probability of getting heads is 1/2. And then we multiply, this is 3 out of 20. Okay, and the last one that we have is spinning white and not flipping heads. So we would be looking at the probability of white times the probability of not heads. Well, not heads would really be tails. So the probability of white, there are 5 white spots, so that's 5 out of 10. The probability of tails is 1 out of 2. Don't forget to simplify first. 5 out of 10 simplifies to 1 over 2, and then multiply is 1/4. Okay, so those were all independent events. Now on these last problems, we're going to look at some dependent events. So you randomly choose one of the lettered tiles. Without replacing the first tile, you choose a second tile. Find the probability of choosing the first tile, then the second tile. Now I said that these are dependent. Okay, kind of be thinking about why they are dependent. And they are dependent because you're not replacing. It says without replacing the first tile. Okay, so imagine that these tiles were all in the bag. The probability of picking an R and then an N. Well, there's only one R, so that would be 1 out of 7. And there's only one N. But remember, we've already picked the R and we're not putting it back. So now for the N, it's 1 out of 6. And when we multiply, we get 1 out of 42. Okay, now again, all of the tiles are back for the second one. So the probability of a D is 1 out of 7. And then the probability of an O, remember the D is now gone, is 2 out of 6. Okay, I would always simplify first. 2 out of 6 simplifies to 1/3. And then we can multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, and 7 times 3 is 21. So your probability is 1/21. Okay, let's try another one. I'm going to go back 1 second here and remember the D is back in there now. So the probability of an N is 1 out of 7. Okay, now remember the N is gone. And now the probability of picking a yellow tile. There are 3 out of the 6 that are yellow. And if we simplify again first, 3 out of 6 simplifies to 1/2. And then multiply, that's 1 out of 14. Okay, and then the last one here, the probability of an O and then not yellow. Make sure we have all the tiles back. The probability of an O is 2 out of 7. Now remember, only one of the O's were picked, not both of them. And then the probability of not yellow. Well, there are 4 greens. So that is 4 out of the 6 that are left. Simplify first. 4 out of 6 simplifies to 2/3. And then multiply straight across. 2 times 2 is 4. 7 times 3 is 21. Okay. Always look at your final answers and make sure they are in simplest form before you finish. Most likely, if you get something wrong on your homework, it might be because it's not in simplest form. Don't forget to then complete the assignment that is listed as the next thing in the module. If you have questions, remember to hop onto Zoom or email me, or if you want to set up a private Zoom session with me, you are welcome to do that too. Just shoot me an email and we will get that set up. Have a great day, guys.